This question is demonstrating about the understanding of tax power as a power to destroy. So there are two phases in here. We are going to deal with the destruction and the judicial restraint. Question number 11. The Philippine Congress enacts a new special excise tax on an emerging, innovative technology, setting the rate so high as 95% on the gross revenue that it effectively forces all companies in the industry to cease operations. The affected industry group files a petition claiming the tax is unconstitutional because it violates the principle of non-confiscatory tax, which is a valid ground, and is tantamount to government overreach. They are exceedingly beyond their limitation. Which statement most accurately reconciles the two maxims? So we have two maxims. The power to tax is the power to destroy, and the power to tax is not the power to destroy. That's the opposite one. While the court or the Supreme Court sits. So this time, the judiciary body, represented by the Supreme Court, acts as a restraining body to avoid this power to destroy. Now, in the context of this legal, we are going to which statement accurately reconcile the two. So this is a review of what we learned about the power to destroy and its restraining factor that is to be executed or to be exercised by the judiciary body. The tax is constitutionally valid. Okay, this is the first one. Under the power to destroy maxim, which grants the legislature absolute unlimited authority. So that's how the power to destroy is a manifestation. The power to destroy is a manifestation of this absolute and unlimited authority, and to set at any rate necessary to revenue generation, placing it beyond the Supreme Court's jurisdiction. Now the tax is invalid, letter B. So this one is not acceptable because it does not validate actually the power to destroy, because the Constitution itself is not permitting this what we call arbitrariness at saka yung confiscatory abuse, okay, that results into abuse on the exercise of the power to tax. So that makes letter A not acceptable. Letter B, the tax is invalid because the power to destroy is absolutely controlled by the lifeblood theory, which requires the tax rate to be based solely on the principle of the taxpayer's ability to pay, not on the policy objectives. Well, this would not be the case because under the lifeblood doctrine that makes that there is it is very essential that there's a need really to collect tax to make the government, to avoid the government into paralysis. So the tax is a ground, is necessary in order to support the government when it comes to that. Okay, so I think this cannot be a justification to lead that one to make it to a destruction. Letter B. Letter C, the Supreme Court will intervene. The SC will intervene because the taxation is limited in exercise principle, requires the tax law be reasonable, non-arbitrary. So accordingly, while the power itself is immense, it is not legally restrained by the judiciary body to prevent the it is legally restrained to avoid this actual destruction of property without due process of law. Well, maybe it might result into a destruction of the property, but the basic condition is that it is within, or it has to follow the due process of law. That is the case. If there's intention to do that distraction, but again, it must be following the due process of law. So the letter C is acceptable. And all the reasons stated in here are within the what is explained in our notes. Letter D is the imposition is valid only if the government can prove that 95%, only if the government is directly connected to non-revenue purpose. Otherwise, it's considered as violation of the state's inherent power of eminent domain. Not sure if that is logical, if there's some logical, because eminent domain is a different one. But non-revenue purpose regulation might be valid, but if that is for destruction purpose, the 95%, it cannot be justified with the non-revenue purpose because destruction is out of bounds of the regulation. When you say regulation, you just try to redirect the behavior or to change the behavior of the certain or of the subject. Okay, because there is another purpose like lesser consumption of tobacco, putting a huge amount of syntax. That's a regulation, but it's not intended to destroy for that particular subject. So in addition, again, let's try to review that the power to tax the power to tax cannot lead to a power to destroy, as according to the Supreme Court, while this court sits, because there are two school of thoughts with regard to that. First is the power to tax is the power to destroy. And in there, actually this one is demonstrating only on the immense power of the Congress to execute or to exercise the the taxation power. So because of its a paramount need when it comes to the fiscal, to support the government, the fiscal need of that. So it might result to a power to destroy for the sake of surviving the government. So that's the first school of thought. But on the second school of thought, they consider the constitutional limitation. So according in that, so number one is the due process. This particular restraint is emphasizing that while it's really powerful to have taxation, however, there's a need to follow the due process of law that is emphasizing in avoiding the confiscatory nature of collecting tax or arbitrary. These are the things that needs to be avoided. So the role of the Supreme Court will now going to act to enforce the safeguard that is provided by the Constitution. So that's it. So therefore, we try to reconcile the two. The power is unlimited in scope. That's the number one. That's described in here. Unlimited in scope. That's is to the rate. They can tax whatever they want. But in this case, the 95%, they just need to supplied an evidence that it leads to arbitrariness and confiscatory action. So it looks like they find it as confiscatory, so the court have the power to declare it as unconstitutional when it comes to that. So again, it is given the power as inherent, as it is essential, supported with the different doctrines as the basis of taxation, like the lifeblood and the necessity doctrine, but it should not lead into destruction. So that's why we have this judiciary, the Supreme Court now, to enforce the safeguards set by the Constitution. So that's all that we need to understand about these inherent powers. So I hope that it's clear for you to understand here what is demonstrated in this problem about the power to destroy.